It is Answers Party Line today, brought to you by CHI Albany Area Health, Wimmer Opticians of St. Cloud, Atlas Chiropractic of Wade Park. In studio with me from where are you from there? Oh, Soil and Water Conservation District. That's right, Dennis, Administrator with the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District. And we also have Nate Hylla with us. He is the Senior Engineering Tech from the SWCD. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chasm listeners.
Now, we've got to get to know Nate here a little bit, Nate Hylla.
Yeah, I'll let you explain. I just want to let the listeners know that the reason why he's Senior Engineering Tech isn't because he's old, but because of the massive amount of knowledge he's gained from working in the office for the past several years. That's why he's senior.
With you, Dennis, right?
Yeah. And my colleagues.
And your colleagues.
That allows him to learn a lot more.
And I'm aging a lot more
Nate,
as a result.
You look like you're about 25.
I am 38 years old.
Seriously?
Yeah, I do look young.
You
but
do look
yeah,
like a young guy.
Yeah, I do look young, but I'm 38. Grew up in Holdingford, Minnesota, and live in Avon now, so I'm a local. Related to the joke in the office is I'm related to half of the people in the county or know somebody's uncle's brother's cousin's husband. So it makes delivering conservation easier then. So when you do have some of those local
I like to work with somebody I know.
Yeah.
Oh,
that would be me.
Yeah.
Well, that means you have connections.
I do.
Yeah.
Good and bad.
Well, I was just going to focus on the good ones, not necessarily the bad ones. So how'd you get into the whole soil and water conservation thing?
Well, I actually was serving in engineering right out of high school for the county. And I have 20 years of experience surveying and engineering, and that's kind of what landed me in this field. I do have an undergraduate degree from St. Cloud State University in education, but by default, just through work experience, I enjoy surveying, and it's given me an opportunity to step into this role. Not only that, but I am a big hunter and a big fisherman, and interested in the outdoors and all ways, shape, and form, I guess. So I guess this is a good fit for me I always had a dream, too, that I want to work for the DNR. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. So they asked me in high school, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, well, I'd like to do something like the DNR. And I said, this is about as close as it gets to doing that. And the other thing is I got 3 young kids. And seeing them grow up in a world with clean water and sustainable land, I said it's important for me because there is another generation following us. So I guess that's important, and it's a good fit where I'm at here. So, and I get to work with Dennis,
and that is a treat by itself.
Hey, Dennis, can you meow for the kids? Meow. I told the kids. They asked. I said, "Well, I'm going on the radio today," and they said, "Well, can you have Dennis meow?" So thanks for that. Meow.
And let's do a shout out for beer of some sort here.
What's that?
A shout out for beer like you usually do?
Oh, yeah. Did you guys hear that 3rd Street Brewery has now released their latest and greatest lager?
What's that?
Minnesota Gold. Yeah. And they just released it here during Firefest. And I haven't had it yet. I am just dying to try it. And the word on the street is going over awesome. They are going to be, there's a lot of people that don't like craft beer because it's got too much flavor. They're used to light beers. And, so when you have a lager, that's a more traditional Stearns County type of beer. Right. So I just think that is going to go over great. And I hope at the state baseball tournament at Cold Spring coming up here the latter part of August, they'll have it there. Because I'm going to try to get to a game and watch Lake Henry take state this year.
So what were you, not the Rocks game that you and I were both at a few weeks back, what was that type of beer you were drinking? It's got the 3 letters. What is those 3 letters?
IPA. India Pale Ale.
This is not an IPA you're not talking about.
No, it's a lager.
This is different.
It's more like a Leinenkugel or Budweiser flavor, just a traditional lager.
Did your doctor say you should try more light beer, though? I mean,
you've been talking to my doctor?
Yeah.
And it's Beer Talk with Dennis and Nate this morning.
Well, what my plan is instead of drinking several more beers of the lighter stuff, drink a few less better beers. But what I find myself doing is just drinking more better beer.
More better beer. Very good. Well, thanks for the beer shout out today. Yeah. I like that. Now we got to get down to business, of course. Nate, as a senior engineering tech, what are some of your duties?
Well, like Dennis said, it's a lot of things, a lot of different activities. I do, and the reason it's senior is it's involved in a lot of different things in the office, from everything from grant writing to helping with engineering projects. If a farmer wants to install a practice or shoreline restoration, I work with the technicians in the office to get that done. I review projects, help with grant writing, do some of the grant reporting, work with the USDA programs, and report to the federal agency, NRCS, Natural Resources Conservation Service, that we work with. So, Dennis?
You've also got a new engineering technician, part-time person, or I should say full-time, funded through a 3-year grant that you get these new people that are learning the surveying equipment and the civil engineering software. Nate has been a tremendous force in getting these people up to speed with the equipment and the software that make them very efficient in a short period of time. And he's just got a great relationship with these young people to work with. He used to coach.
Yeah, and that educational background, or background in education, I should say, has helped. It's not a waste. I'm still using those things, and not only raising my own family, but in training. I do provide training across the state and locally, regionally, to people who have questions about how do I run the survey equipment, how do I do the software. So that education background that I have is coming in useful in this case. So it's a wide variety of activities, and I'm thankful to Dennis for letting me do that. It keeps my day going, and the day goes fast.
So if they don't catch on, you make them run laps or something, kind of like an educational thing? Killers, yeah. That's it.
And I coach baseball, youth baseball in Avon too, and I found that incentives are good ways to get people involved. And I told the kids, I said, okay, I'm going to hit pop flies as high as I can, and if you catch one, you get $5. So $10 later, I dropped my amount to $2. Instead, I would have gotten broke, but good thing my kid caught some, so I can just put it on his tab.
I'll get to you next week, son. Yeah, good boy. So you've got, I can't imagine the grant writing part of it. Is that not one of your favorite parts of the job? Or
not really, no. And I don't actually do a lot of the grant writing. We have a lot of staff in the office that are much, much better at it. I help coordinate the effort more so than actually do the grant writing. There are a lot of staff in the office that are more knowledgeable about some of what it takes to get the funding. It's a competitive process, Brad, where we would apply for these grants from the state of Minnesota. That Clean Water Land, Water, and Legacy Amendment back in 2008 when the voters voted to and passed that. That's where some of this funding comes through and is to the districts and the Stearns County Soil and Water. It's a competitive grant process. So we spend quite a bit of time identifying projects in the area that we can, let's say we have 5 farmers interested. We're working too with the city of Albany. Last year we had a grant to write a plan. And that plan was to identify areas of concern to Two Rivers Lake. I don't really want to change the lake because I know where the fish are, how deep they are, what they're biting on. I'm a local, so I don't want to share all my secrets. But we're trying to reduce the water and reduce nutrients at Two Rivers Lake. So I think trying to do that, we're writing a grant this year to get some funding to help implement these projects within Two Rivers.
Our grants are usually written like once a year. Are you constantly doing this throughout the year?
And that's the great thing. Dennis has all kinds of ideas. Yeah. Obviously you've known him for a little while because he walks in the office or in the station here, and you know exactly what he
just helps himself to everything.
He just goes to get the coffee.
Gets the coffee.
Grab some candy. But he's got all kinds of ideas, and he's got ways and different grants, state, federal, local. So there's a bunch of different grants in at all times of the year too. So
And this is the time of the year where we pursue the state funds. And, the more successful we are bringing these dollars back to central Minnesota, the better it is for our resources. And we like to see a lot of these dollars coming back because it is a portion of every sales tax. 1/8 of 1% goes toward the Clean Water Legacy Amendment. So we can talk more about this in about 5 seconds, Brad, if you'd like.
Well, no, because we got to take a break, so it's going to be about 6 or 7 minutes. We can talk about this. Sweet! More from our guests, Nate Hylla and also Mr. Dennis Fuchs, as we get back from our news break at 9:30. It's Chasm Radio, your dependable neighbor. News information. Midwest Machinery brought you your Brownfield Egg Market news here on Chasm Radio. It's Answer's Party Line. We continue with our guests from the Soil and Water Conservation District. We have Dennis Fuchs, Administrator, and also we have Nate Hylla, Senior Engineering Tech. And we were talking with Nate about grants. And what's the latest grant we are trying to focus on, Nate?
We're submitting Clean Water Fund applications here at the end of August. We do have a couple planned. I mentioned before the break that Two Rivers Lake is a focus right now, along working with the city of Albany to kind of reduce. We all know what happens when you drive by 94 and you see, the golf course and things like that. We're trying to reduce nutrients to Two Rivers Lake. So I think as a team effort, we're going to focus on certain areas and hopefully get some interested landowners to put some of these practices in.
One of the we were out with Jody Tyke with the county highway department here in Stearns County here last week, and one of the things that we're seeing is more and more water, and people are trying to get it off their fields faster and send it downstream, and increasing the size of culverts is not going to really solve the problem. It's going to send the problem downstream to the next landowner. So what we're really are going to be looking for are farmers that are willing to set aside some marginal cropland and restore that wetland and put some type of control structure on there. So when we get a 1,000-year storm event of 4 to 5 inches in a couple hours, that we can hold that water back in this here area and allow it to flow out over a slower time period. We are experiencing a lot more rainfall, and a lot of the residents and listeners know you've been seeing this happening throughout Stearns County. And we're also seeing more intense rainfall events earlier in the year. And it's very sporadic. One of the guys in our office, Mike Hemman, he was on the radio with us here in the past. He lives up by Sartell, and we've got a project we're doing on with St. Cloud State. Mike, one evening, got 4.5 inches of rain. What did they get over at St. Cloud State? A couple drops. I mean, that's how variable these rainfall events are. And what we really need to do is figure out, how we can store more of this water on the landscape. Two River Lake is a good example that bounces a lot with the rainfall events that happen all the way down here to Albany and even south of the interstate. So that's something that we're going to be visiting with a lot of farmers and landowners about if there's an opportunity to store some water. And we'll have to make sure that the folks are compensated properly for taking this out of production and turning it into a storage place. But there are various programs out there that'll give you the fair market value for that land, and you still own it, and it's not open for hunting. You can open it to hunting if you want to, but it's under your control. And we're going to be visiting with farmers a lot more about this in the future, just because we're getting so much more rain. And if you look at the normals, what's normal? Well, that's 30 years of climate data that's what normal is. So right now we're looking at 1980 to 2010. That's our climate norm. If you look at 1940 to 1970 and compare the rainfall with our new climate norm, we're getting 4 more inches annually than what we did back from 1940 to 1970. So there's more rainfall, it's higher intensity, it's earlier in the year, and we need to find a way and how we're going to hold this water back, because we can't keep sending it downstream. Our infrastructure was designed back like our ditch systems. That was early 1900s when a lot of those ditch systems came in. They can operate at a certain capacity. When you start putting this much more rain, we're going to have things blowing out like you've never seen before, and we don't want that to happen. That's part of the reason why they got the buffer program too. They want to try to stabilize some of these infrastructure items to move water downstream without taking all our soil. So we'll be working with folks on the buffer program too, starting next year. We're still waiting, kind of transitioning into that, Brad. The buffer program, we've got that was approved by the legislators and the governor. So the timeline is now kicking. They're looking at the DNR developing a map identifying all of the public waters, so that'd be the rivers and wetlands and lakes and ditch systems and the private systems flowing into those judicial systems. They're going to have to create a map that we can review, and that's supposed to be done next year. So I really hope we get a lot of farmers to take a look at that too, to make sure that they did a good job with developing that map. And once we get that map, we'll be working with you to discuss various options available to you to implement the buffers. They're talking 16 and a half feet, which isn't a super wide strip on ditch systems, which is a requirement if it was going to be reevaluated for benefits. So they're just moving that timeline up now that everybody's got to have that done. And that's got to be done at a certain time, too. I think that was 2017. Nope, I take that back. It'll be November 2018 when all the ditch systems have to be buffered, and all of the public waters need to be done by November 2017. So we are going to be looking at programs. The continuous CRP is one of the programs. There's also the state program, Reinvest in Minnesota. That's a permanent easement. The Sauk River Watershed District also has created another program, the Hayable Buffer program. So there's various programs out there. Plus, in the last Farm Bill, they included an option for working grass, range, and pasture lands. And that might be an option also. We're still getting more information on that CRP program through USDA on the working grass, range, and pasture land, and hopefully we can share more with our listeners throughout the rest of the year as we get the information to us. But there might be an opportunity for you to harvest your hay from the buffer and then still get a reduced rate CRP rental payment annually on that, which is also another good deal for folks in dairy country. So that's the buffer program, and we should also give you an update on where we are with our district conservationist. We had Terry Zubzelka here last time we were on air, and he was our acting DC. His last day was yesterday, and we still haven't identified a new permanent district conservationist that'll be taking Terry's spot. I did talk to the regional supervisor yesterday, and he has not received any information yet from Washington, D.C., so we'll have another acting person for a maximum of 120 days. Now, NRCS USDA just went through a massive administrative transformation to make things more efficient. We're still waiting for the efficiency to kick in, but they say it's coming.
Someday. The speed of molasses kind of.
Yeah. NRCS is getting to be known as a natural resources contracting service, just with the length of the contracts. It is, and I don't want to make it sound like you shouldn't come into our office to work. Like I was visiting with Nate off air we got some great people in our office and a lot of local people that understand farmers here in Stearns County and what they're looking for. And we can work with you to help solve your problems, and we'll help you get through that paperwork. We can help you get through that stuff. Don't be afraid of that. Nate will walk you right through it.
Yep. It's good to have consistent staff too. Farmers, when they walk in the door and they see the same face and they can call you and know that you're there and maintain that trusting relationship. That's important to delivering conservation. So I think having that unique partnership between the federal and the state staff get along. We do, like Dennis said, we do have a great team in the office. So we're missing that one large piece, I should say, to help glue things together. So.
Yeah, DC is a very important position. They're supposed to be the point person on all of the NRCS programs that come out of our office. So that be the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, EQIP, and we're bringing in over $1 million in the county every year in that program. The Conservation Stewardship Program, that's another big program and a huge workload. Yeah, so those are the big ones, plus all the wetland provisions to make sure you're in compliance to get Farm Bill benefits. So there's this tremendous workload, and we like to partner with them as to the greatest extent possible, which delivers the maximum amount of conservation to our farmers in the county. And that's one of the reasons why we're very successful, is that we got a great team, and we work together well. And have in the past, too.
Before we continue, Dennis and Nate, we do have a phone call. If you could slip on those headphones and let me know if you can hear okay out of them. Hopefully, they're all going to be functioning properly. Can you hear me okay? All right. Testing 1, 2. Sibilance. Perfect. Got a phone call here. Let's go to the phone lines. Hi, you're on Chasm Radio. What's your question or comment for our guests?
I actually have two questions. The first one is, what's the status on this Getchell Creek clean-out project they have? A lot of farmers have lost a lot of meadow hay this year. I think that could have been prevented if we had those ditches cleaned properly, and not to mention the Hemper Game Farm. The poor animals are, halfway up to their knees and standing in water when we get these heavy rains. And I'm just wondering what your response with that question would be.
All right, we'll get your question answered here, hopefully. Thanks for calling in.
I think another
question, please. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. The other one is about an unpermitted mirror pit. They told us the solution to that would be to dig up the present concrete that's in it. And I might add, there's never been any pollution concern in our water table or whatever. But anyway, they're talking about digging up the present floor of the pit, the concrete, and digging a hole somewhere on our farm and burying that. Now, to me, if that concrete is contaminated in a manure pit, and you take it from there and you put it into another hole, I would think that contamination would go along with that concrete, would it not?
All right, we'll get those questions answered. Thanks for your call.
Did you rate those down, Brad? Because I'm from Holdingford, so I don't remember things.
First one was Getchell Creek, and then
I'll cover that one.
Okay. Dennis, you want that one?
Okay, Getchell Creek, we were out there last week with the Watershed District, and Getchell Creek in portions is also a ditch system. And like I was saying earlier, that ditch system was designed in the 1900s, and the records are pretty sketchy on what the design depth was and a lot of the engineering components to that, but they're trying to do the best they can. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier. We're getting 4 more inches of rain now than back. I didn't even look at what the 1900s. We're probably getting 4 to 10 inches more rain than we were when this ditch system was installed. And that goes back to what we're saying is we're going to need to identify. We can't keep sending this water downstream. Nothing was designed at the capacity that it needs to be today, and that means somebody downstream is going to get flooded out, or we're going to have excessive soil loss occurring. So we need to identify areas on the landscape where we can store water and release it over a controlled period of time so that we can reduce these peak flows that we see when we get these 4, 5, 6, 8-inch rainfall events occurring across the watershed.
I think driving around the county too, in Getchell and in that area south of Freeport, I noticed a significant amount of water this year. Our focus has always been to work in the upland, like Dennis was saying, and store water in the upland. And with these practices to help reduce the amount of flow. I think everybody looks at the ditch and says, "Oh, the ditch is flooded." Well, we have to consider everything contributing to that ditch and how that can be handled versus the actual ditch itself. So there's a number of ways we can help with that. So
one of the best things to do to increase storage of rainfall on your property is to improve soil health. Increase the organic matter and increase the water holding capacity. If everybody does that by minimizing tillage and maximizing your rotation, we can start holding more water in the landscape. But it's going to even take more than that in some of these systems. In a corn soybean rotation, we're just going to need to store more water in strategic areas. Maybe there's a low area that's pasture right now that would be an excellent opportunity to restore the wetland and have acre feet of storage and then release that slowly over time. But yeah, definitely these ditch systems were designed in the early 1900s, and we know a lot more now, and the climate's changing. We're getting more rainfall, just like it always has been changing. And right now we're in an increased rainfall activity, and we just can't send all this water downstream without having more people getting flooded out.
Second part of that question, Nate?
Okay, the unpermitted basin investigation, you talk about having an unpermitted basin, and talk about burying concrete. We do offer financial and technical assistance to help close those pits. The burial of the concrete can be done in Stearns County. You do have to work with either our office. You actually would work with the Stearns County Environmental Services office to let them know if you want to close it on your own. If you're interested in technical and financial assistance, you would visit our office at 110 2nd Street South by the old Kmart where the new Dick's Sporting Goods is going to go. We're located there. Otherwise, to 320-251-7800, extension 3. If you're looking for technical and financial assistance, you can bury that concrete on site. The concrete is not, you'd clean the concrete off and it's not considered contaminated. Stearns County has allowed you to do more burial of concrete. There is a stipulation. You would work with Environmental Services. You do have to record that on your deed. I think what was happening is some concrete was being buried on farms and not recorded. All of a sudden, you're wanting to put up a barn, and we didn't know it was there. And all of a sudden, there's a huge pile of concrete from a previous building or whatever. You could either work with our office, you could call us, and we could direct you to the right location, or call Stearns County Environmental Services. The rest of the pit wall, if it is earthen, you can use that, take out that contaminated soil, would be more contaminated than the actual concrete itself. You can actually put it in a stockpile now and bring it back onto the site as a seed base. Now, some farmers don't like to do that because of the contaminated soil, and it doesn't smell great. But it does provide, if it's dry, a good seed base. And you're able to put that back on top. Once you close the pit up, everybody thinks a pit's a hole in the ground. If it is, you find some soil to fill it in. So put the contaminated material on the top and seed it down. Again, you can call our office. You can ask for Nate, and I can help you down the path that you would choose, whether it be technical and financial assistance through our office, or if you wanted to do it on your own. But the concrete burial can be done. It has to be recorded on your deed, and we'd have to work with Stearns County Environmental Services for that.
All right.
Hopefully that answered his question.
Otherwise, they can contact 251-7800 extension 3.
Correct.
For more info.
That's a good idea.
All right.
Brad, can I just quickly cover the Farm Fest activity?
Dennis, you have my permission.
All right. Hey, thanks. The Farm Fest is going on right now. You probably listened to Joe this morning doing a fantastic job broadcasting live from Farm Fest. God, you're weird.
I know I am. So are you.
But on Thursday, August 6th, they're going to actually be visiting with some of the Farm Family of the Year folks. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is every county, the University of Minnesota Extension Service recognizes a Farm Family of the Year. And this year in Stearns County, it is ours only, Chuck Uphoff and his wife Deb, as the Farm Family of the Year for Stearns County. And Chuck is the chair of the board. He's been SWCD supervisor for a long time. And really think that's cool that he's being and his family are being recognized. He's done a great job on his farm, and as a SWCD supervisor, he's just a great guy. And I'm glad he's being recognized at Farm Fest for Stearns County Farm Family of the Year.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, was that dead air?
No. I thought you were talking more about Farm Fest and other things.
No, I don't want to take all of Joe's stories away. I'll
Sure.
let Joe cover that.
No problem.
Okay. I do want to quickly cover, we do have our Farm Friends Barn Sporting Clay fundraiser coming up Thursday, September 10th. Farm Friends Barn, we're working with Benton, Sherburne, and Stearns into getting a barn built to teach kids about agriculture. And this is going to be north of Becker. There's a family farm that was donated to Sherburne County, and we're trying to get a barn built. And this is one of the fundraisers there to help generate enough funds to get the barn built. And we're looking at about $200,000+ to get the barn built with all the educational stuff that we need to teach kids about agriculture. And this is just one of the events that we've got going on. So if you're interested in the shoot, it's going to be Thursday, September 10th in the afternoon at Wild Marsh Sporting Clays, which is east of St. Cloud, about 10 miles. It's close to a little town called Santiago. And we're going to have registration starting at 2. And the shotgun start at 3 p.m. And it's $400 per 4-person team. And then you can also do a sponsorship if you'd like. And then we're going to have dinner tickets available for purchase afterwards. We're going to be meeting at Jack and Jim's by Duelm, which is just east of St. Cloud. And the awards are at 6 p.m. Dinner starts at 5:30 p.m. So if you're interested in this, we got a website you can visit, www.farmfriendsbarn.org. And just a great activity here to get together, do a little shooting, get ready for the fall pheasant harvest. Yeah.
Now, Dennis, do you actually get awards for the best shot? And are there awards for those lesser shooters that don't shoot as many?
Yeah, this last year was the first time we had this, and then we this will be the second annual year. We do have the first and second awards for the best teams out there, and then we also give an award for the team most likely to improve.
Oh,
Dennis is hoping for that one, I think.
gunning for that one, literally.
So if you scratch in the bottom, there's always room for improvement. So that's where those guys get the most likely to improve award. But I haven't won that yet, so that's saying something.
He gets a lot of grief for his shooting in the office, I'll tell you that.
Really?
Yeah. I'm on a Sporting Clays team, and you'd think after this many years of shooting, I'd be a better shot.
How many years, Dennis?
It's probably been close to
40 years, I bet.
18.
40? Oh, the clay pigeon. Yeah,
shooting.
I was just thinking shooting in general.
Oh, yeah. No. that's been longer. But I actually been on a league.
A league.
Yeah, well, that means something. You better watch out. He's a professional.
So when you step, they go, oh, here comes Dennis again. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Do you get the kind of the murmurs there going, or?
Yeah, some days. Yeah, it's a lot of fun though. We usually shoot Thursday night, and it's just like golf or anything. Get together with the guys, and
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
After we get done shooting, we grill out and have a couple beers and rib each other about how bad we shot, and usually I'm the one that gets the most ribbing.
All right.
All
1
right,
minute, gentlemen. What else are we going to talk about here quick?
I think that pretty much covered everything I wanted to get to you today. Busy time of the year between grants and wrapping up projects. How many projects you got going on right now, Nate?
There's quite a few going on, and a lot of erosion control starting right now. So, if you are thinking about doing something, now is a good time to come in. Anytime is a good time to come in interested in conservation, but take some planning and some work to get things squared away and put on the landscape. So, but hopefully we'll see a few more of these projects out there so we can take a look at them and see what they look like to see if it's something you're interested in. So
we do see a lot of small grains going off right now, and if you can minimize the tillage on some of these systems, and if you got to incorporate your manure, and if you can just leave it a little bit less disturbed, and then if you go out there with a moldboard plow, you got to get your manure incorporated, but try to leave as much residue on the surface as possible this fall. And we'll talk more about this at future radio shows. It's kind of early now, but I did see a lot of small grains coming off and a lot of the straw being removed for bedding. So there's an opportunity to let some regrowth, and it'll be like a cover crop between now and next year when you plant. So we can talk about that at our future show, Brad. I'd really appreciate you letting us come on and talking to you every month. It's been fun.
Thanks, Dennis. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
That was very sincere, too, I might add. Dennis Fuchs. Oh, go ahead.
Thanks for letting me come on as well. So
thanks, Nate.
Nate, pleasure meeting you. Nate Hylla, and also, again, Dennis Fuchs from Soil and Water Conservation District. Thanks for your time. 10 o'clock news on the way next, Chasm Radio.